Sun, my wife and Sray. We're co-publishers of the Sun. And we appreciate your attendance at the forum. I was thinking about this today, and you know, if we write down the amount of money that we spend on sales tax, property tax, and our utility bill, that's a fairly enormous cash flow coming out of each pocket. And these folks are asking to manage that cash flow. So we need to ask them some questions about that. They're asking to help manage it, volunteering to do it, and we appreciate that. And also the other question we have for them is, what kind of place do we want Georgetown to be? So we're concerned with our pocketbooks, but also our quality of life.
It was a little over 3.5 years ago that Nikki and I had some serious conversations. Nikki's my wife, my better half, my best friend, known her for 43 years, been married 17 years in June, and just really, really special. We had a conversation about how we could get back to the city of Georgetown, and the mayor's role seemed to be the best vehicle, so we campaigned. And we campaigned on several items. First, we wanted to manage and guide quality economic development in Georgetown, and that's what we've been focused on for the last 3 years. We wanted to maintain top-rated police and firefighting agencies. We also added EMS in the last 5 years. The other thing, we want to make it effective tax rate as low as possible to make sure everybody can afford to live in Georgetown. And this year we have the lowest effective tax rate in Central Texas. The other thing, too, is we want to create cost certainty in our city-owned utility. And we've achieved that with 20 and 25-year contracts, with wind and solar contracts. As I think most people know, we're the first city in the state of Texas to be 100% renewable. At one point in time, before Las Vegas came online in December, we were the largest in the country. But what this does for our ratepayers is it creates cost certainty over the next 20 and 25 years, because these contracts are fixed rate contracts. We pay the same per kilowatt hour in each year of the 25-year contracts. So with inflation and other costs that we're not going to pay, it'll be a real bargain for our taxpayers as we go down that timeline. What else did we want to do? That was pretty much it. You know, it was a historic day in Georgetown today. We did the groundbreaking at Gary Park, and I think this is the most historically significant day in our history since we were formed 169 years ago in 1848. This is a 525-acre park that Jack Gary gave to the citizens of Georgetown, plus $10 million. To put it in perspective, it's 1.5 times the size of Zilker Park in Austin. So this is a legacy that the Gary family and the Gary Park have had for generation after generation. If you could just imagine in 200 to 300 years, it'll be a green oasis in a sea of concrete and buildings, and it'll be a beacon in the night for people to come out there and enjoy. I do believe that if you are challenging an incumbent, it's a referendum on the job that the incumbent's done. If you enjoy what's happened in the last 3 years, I ask for you to support me again and vote for me. April 24th is early voting. May 6th is election day.
Well, my name is David Sray, and I'm running for City Council in District 2. I was thinking last night, and it occurred to me, and I'm pretty confident of this, that I am the only candidate in these races, and probably the only candidate in the history of Georgetown, to have actually danced mostly naked on stage at the Palace Theater just across the street when I performed in the Full Monty in 2014. When I'm not busy stripping for thousands of rowdy Georgetown residents, I'm a senior software project manager for a hybrid IT monitoring company in Northwest Austin. I'm also a real estate investor and a member of the Austin Apartment Association, and I self-manage 3 units in the area, 2 in Elgin and 1 in Mount Rock. And obviously, as I mentioned, kind of alluded to in the beginning, I'm also a long-time volunteer actor and director at the Palace Theater, having been involved there since about 2002 or so. To give you a little bit of additional history about myself, I grew up in Germany around military bases. Lived there for about 15 years. Graduated from a Department of Defense school there, Heidelberg American High School. Came here, attended the Ohio State University, where I graduated with distinction with a BA in political science and German literature. I came down to Texas after that, where I spent a brief stint with the Texas legislature, working for the 76th legislature in the Senate, in the Texas Senate. And then from there, I went into the high-tech industry. That was right around when there was the big boom in Austin, and I decided to dive in head first. And that's pretty much where I've been ever since. I'm running for city council because I have two boys that go to school here, Jackson and Wiley, and they attend Tippett and Pickett right off of Leander Road. And I'm concerned about their future here in Georgetown. I'm worried about the political climate that we have going on at the national level, and I'm worried that that's going to trickle down here at some point. I'm worried about the growth that we're experiencing here. I'm worried about the traffic that we're experiencing here. And I'm worried that we're not bringing in quality, high-paying, high-tech jobs into this area. If Round Rock and Austin can bring high-paying, high-tech jobs, which are awesome, why can't we do it? I think we need to be working to address these kinds of issues. And I'm hoping to represent District 2 on the City Council.
So my name is Valerie Nicholson. There are cards over here, so I encourage you to go to my website to learn about me. If you're interested in my resume and history and all of those sorts of things, then I do encourage you to learn more about me. But this really isn't about me. This is about Georgetown. I want to thank you all for being here, because each and every one of you who are here obviously care about our city and have a civic responsibility to be here. I do hope to be an example, like Rachael said, not only to my children, I have 3 boys, ages 6, 11, and 12, but also just in the community at large, to take that responsibility. We live in a democracy, and I think sometimes we take that for granted. And there's a little bit of apathy about that. And so I do hope to be a role model, but again, not necessarily about me. Georgetown is a great and vibrant city. We are growing. Growth is going to happen. We can't stop that from happening. The word is out about Georgetown, right? So then it becomes, how can we manage that growth and have it be very quality growth as opposed to maybe not as thoughtful. I think Mayor Del Ross has done a great job along with the council so far. I don't have a big change agenda necessarily, but I do think there are going to be decisions before council in the next 3 years that are huge and really have the potential to shift where we're going. So there are some specific priorities that I have. All of them have to do with having a safe and vibrant city during this time of growth. I know all about transportation concerns because District 2, which if those of you don't know, it's the west side of 35, from basically Interstate Caverns all the way kind of a crescent up to Williams Drive. So Southwest Bypass, Leander Road, Williams Drive, all those things are very important. And we do, again, need to be able to listen and solicit feedback from our constituents and from people who love Georgetown as much as I do. And then, of course, along with keeping things safe, I do think that our fire and EMS, they need to definitely be able to keep up with the demand that I'm hoping we don't see an uptick in crime, but that is a trend. So we want to make sure that they're equipped to do their job. There's some other things as well. I'm sure we'll get to some questions, but I love this city. I have deep roots here, Central Texas native, here for 7 years. I'm not going anywhere, and I ask for your vote. If you're in District 2, if not, just your support will be great. Thank you.
My name is Rachael Jonrowe. I currently represent District 6 on the Georgetown City Council. I have for the last 6 years, and I'm running for re-election. I've given a lot of these speeches over the years. I've gone to a lot of events, and often I customize the things I say based on the audience before me. And so as I was thinking about what I wanted to say tonight, the thing that kept popping into my head was children. I don't know why, but it just did. And the more I thought about it, the more I had a realization that my entire memorable life, I've done things for children. For those of you that don't know, I'm the oldest of 5. So I started changing my little sister's diapers when I was only 5 years old. And I looked out for my brother on the playground and stood up for him to playground bullies. In middle school, I started babysitting. And I became involved in a program in high school called Teen Teaching, where we would actually go to the elementary schools in my school district and teach them everything from stranger danger to AIDS awareness. I don't know how many of you remember McGruff, the crime-fighting dog, but I actually went around and I did the whole thing with the puppet and would speak in McGruff's voice, teaching children lessons that I hoped they would carry over into adulthood. I worked at the extended care program in Austin. I went to UT, accepted as a Plan 2 student in liberal arts, and I planned on becoming a child psychologist because I wanted to use the things that I had learned over the years to help young children. Through a series of events I won't go into tonight, I ended up on a different track. But I still ended up working for a group of business owners in Austin, and one of the businesses that I managed was helping pregnant women negotiate their hospital bills in order to get their bills down. So and then, of course, I had children of my own, 4 at last count. I think we're done. So when I first ran for council, my number one motivation was to do something to give back to my community, to set an example for my children of what it means to commit yourself to public service. I think I've done that pretty well the last 6 years. My children now, my Amelie just told me that when she grows up, she wants to be a botanist and a world-renowned feminist. So I think I'm doing pretty good so far. My youngest wants to be a firefighter, my other daughter wants to be a botanist, and my son wants to be an inventor. So I think I've got them on a pretty good track. So I'm hoping that people will vote to send me back to the council because I think generationally. I've taken to wearing my hair the way I do because my grandmother did. So I do that to remind me of the generations that have come before. And then I think of my children and your children and our grandchildren and great-grandchildren when I make every decision that I do on the city council.
I am Romero, and I'm trying to get District 6 seat. I am trying to run against Rachael Jonrowe. I have some push cards also. They're up here at the desk, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about myself. First of all, I am a 10-year vet. I served in the Army and the Air Force. Oh! I went to the University of Houston, and I graduated with a business degree, and my major was computer information system. I worked in, my corporate career was in healthcare insurance. That's what I did while I was in Houston. Currently I sit on the Heart Commission, so it's very important to me to make sure that we maintain the quality of our downtown area, which is District 6, and that's what I hope to maintain while I'm in office. Let's see, I'm a local business owner, a small business owner, and you're going to have to forgive me because this is my first time doing public speaking, so I do apologize. I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce. I'm also part of the American Legion, and I am part of the Preservation Georgetown. The reason that I'm running is because I want all constituents in District 6 to be heard. I don't want just a few to be heard. Currently, I don't think we're being represented to the best of the ability of our current member. So I want to be that voice for everyone within the district. I think that I have qualities for that. I served in the military. I learned how to do teamwork. I believe that I can work with other city council members to get measures done in order to move our city forward. I believe the biggest thing that I believe is quality growth here. We can't stop the growth. The growth is here already. And I want to be part of making that happen. I came from a large city that didn't have zoning, and we didn't have anything to help protect or preserve our historic value of Houston. And that is something that is very strong and ingrained in me, that I know how important that is to Georgetown. And the biggest thing that drew me here to Georgetown was this beautiful, beautiful asset that we have, which is our historic Georgetown and our town square. So I hope that you vote for me, and I appreciate your time.
To the mayor, what is your greatest frustration so far? And in your opinion, your greatest accomplishment so far?
Well, being the mayor of the greatest city on planet Earth, my frustrations are few. Our blessings have been many over the last 3 years. The greatest accomplishment, I would say, now this is a collective effort because this is a team approach. You have a mayor and you have council members that take care of policy and budget, and then you have the city manager and his team to take care of the day-to-day operations. I would say this council has done an amazing job with respect to managing and guiding the growth. We're the fastest growing city for a city of our size in the country. We're growing every day 8%, but we've been able to manage and guide that growth while still preserving the unique charm of our city. And that's probably the best accomplishment, because that's easier said than done. And you have to have everybody working together to make that happen. I don't have any frustrations. I mean, this is just an amazing city. And every day, I mean, you just look at the accomplishments that the city has been able to provide the citizens that we were elected to serve, and it's off the chart. There isn't any city in the country that can compare to what we've done in the last 3 years. Second safest city in the country, fastest growing, maybe you don't see that. And you got the most beautiful town square in the state of Texas. If you look at social service funding, we donate $400,000 to very worthy charities every year, so we give back. We were ranked the most giving and caring city in the state of Texas in October of 2014. So I don't have any complaints. I just would like 3 more years to see how much farther we can take our city.
Would you endorse beginning the city budget by starting at the revenue from the effective tax rate plus new property from the tax rolls?
No, I don't think that's a good approach. The city government and other governments are different than businesses, okay? Our approach is we don't make profit. And the bottom line is sometimes with cities, you have to go on in the budget based on what the citizens need, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you start with zero-based budgeting. Plus, I think the city of Georgetown has done an amazing job. We have the lowest effective tax rate in Central Texas out of all the cities. So whatever we're doing it pretty well. And I don't think the citizens are lacking of any of the amenities that they've indicated to council and myself that they want. So the short answer is no. I like the way we're doing it right now. It's a very open and transparent process. And the unfortunate thing about that is we have budget hearings in the summer, and usually there's 1 or 2 people, and it's sort of like in a cavern. And I understand you can't watch us on TV, but to answer your question, no.
This is the District 6 candidates. Both candidates have done remodels in the historic overlay. How was dealing with the Historical Architectural Review Commission? How was the permitting process? Okay, we'll start with Lawrence.
Well, let's see. It took 3 months to get through all of the reading for it, so it was a difficult process to go through. The reading for it alone, just by myself, calling planning and zoning, was quite a long process, and it did take 3 months to figure it all out. It was. Staff was great talking to. They pointed me to the directions of where I needed to find the information within the UDC guidelines. Luckily, I did not have to go in front of HARP because I didn't make any structural changes to the house. But it is tedious. It is extremely difficult to figure it out as a layman if this is not your forte as a builder. That is, however, how I got my start in figuring out that I wanted to be on HARP. For me, it was not a bad process once I got the hang of things. And basically, what it is a lot of reading, a lot of understanding of what content you're reading, and understanding where you fall, if it's maintenance or if it's an actual structural issue that you have to change, what permits you have to pull, and if you have to pull those permits. So for me, it was a tedious process, but luckily I was able to get through it, and I did not have to go through Hark. But if I had gone through Hark, sitting on Hark, I think that I would have been able to handle Hark. I may have had to have gone back a couple times, but the system and structure is there in place for everybody to follow, and you just have to do what you have to do in order to make sure that you take care of the home that you're a caretaker of, and that's all.
I've gone through the renovation process since I've been in Georgetown, not once, but twice. Growing family, sometimes you have to change these old homes to make them more accommodating to a different lifestyle. It's gone pretty smoothly. There's definitely room for improvement. The second go-around, we started about 7 months ago with basically rearranging the entire interior of our house to prepare for teenagers. We're going to put a lot of soundproofing between us and them. So it's given me, the first time we did it was before I was on the council, so I wasn't paying a lot of attention, but it all seemed to go pretty smoothly. There were no major hang-ups. But the second time was interesting to get sort of a first-hand view and be able to see the step-by-steps, the steps that happened. And one of my observations, and something I've discussed with our city manager, is that in a lot of ways, this process seems to go a lot smoother for the big companies that are coming into Georgetown than it does for individual homeowners. And there are some structural issues that we do need to address in order to make it go more smoothly for individuals that are looking to renovate their homes to make it fit their needs. So this is something that I have discussed. We are working on. Some of it is staffing levels. We're still recovering from the economic downturn when we had hiring freezes for so long. But we've developed a plan going forward to make sure we get to where we need to be in order to make this process as smooth as possible. Another aspect is we need to make sure that the people in our planning department know how to identify our historical structures and whether or not they need to even go before HARC. Because sometimes that information is not communicated to the homeowner and they're not actually going through the process that they need to in order to preserve our historic structures. So I've identified some areas where there's definitely room for improvement. For me, government is a process. It's never perfect. So there's always things that we can do better.
The city's plan to run a raw sewage pipeline through Gray Springs Park and Preserve. Several people have sent in a question about this. Would you be willing to study alternate routes for this pipeline in order to protect the springs?
Currently on the spring itself, since I don't sit on council, I've only seen portions of that, so I can't speak to the problem, the situation itself with vast knowledge. What I would do though is I would need to have all of the research given to me, and then at that point, that's when I can make a decision. But right now, I wouldn't be able to speak truthfully to it because I don't have all of the information, and that's where I'm at this point on that particular subject.
And like Lawrence, I've seen and watched what's happened at council, but have not received a lot of information. I do understand the concerns, and I feel like everyone needs to be part of the process. And so I do encourage anyone, obviously, who is impacted by this to continue to provide feedback and be part of that process. But like Lawrence, I'm not privy to some of the information. I do know that I would trust staff and recommendations by staff. I do feel like the council's job is actually to set policy and manage budget and things like that. And so there is a point that where your expertise, you don't have the expertise on council necessarily. You do need to depend on staff and input from citizens to move forward with that. So,
council is working with the county right now, considering alternative routes around Berry Springs Park. I've written a paper today and got about 1,200 words, and it talks all about the choices that council will be faced with. But council is very sensitive to the environmental concerns, and like I said, we are working with the county right now. This will land on the dais, perhaps the next council meeting. And we are looking at alternative routes. We have experts on our staff, the county has experts on their staff. They're talking to each other, and then a plan will be presented to the city council for their discussion and approval.
The Berry Springs issue is actually about two different things. One is about MUDs, or municipal utility districts, and the role that they will play in the future development of Georgetown. We've become a magnet for MUDs. but not every city in this area is. And it is an opportunity for developers, but I think it presents us with some problematic things going forward. And I think that council needs to dive more into that and really get into the nitty-gritty and decide whether or not we want to continue to use that as a mechanism for development and approve it. Second is the environment. I'm willing to look at any option for the wastewater treatment line. But there's a question about what role does the city play and how much should we invest in providing utilities to all the far-flung areas of Georgetown. For those of you that don't know, Georgetown is huge. Areas like Round Rock and Cedar Park are pretty much built out. They're not necessarily going to get much bigger, but Georgetown at full built out could have 450,000 people in it. So this is an issue that is not going away. So for me, we need to have a thorough and deep discussion about the preservation of green spaces and what our feelings are about access to nature as a human right. And I think we could actually look at this in a very innovative way and come up with some very exciting and innovative ideas to make sure that all our citizens now and in the future will have access to nature and preserves and green spaces now and in the future for as long as we can imagine. So I hope that we can use this as an opportunity to build that dialogue and maybe come up with some policies that will encapsulate that and get it in writing for the future. So thank you.
I think Rachael really hit the nail on the head in this one. Of course, I'm not serving on council currently. I think that it's pretty clear that as long, until a policy has been passed and finalized, there are always opportunities to consider alternatives. And we definitely want to preserve our green space. But we also want to make sure we're controlling our costs. So if I get on council, obviously, I'll be looking at this issue and gathering all the facts and trying to make the best decision that benefits Georgetown in the long term. It's never too late to look at alternatives, and I'm absolutely willing to do that.
Neighborhoods with rental units continually have garbage on the curb. This practice is allowed under the terms of the current contract. Would you support amending the contract to prohibit TDS from leaving garbage on the curb? Or I guess, rather than prohibit, ask them to pick it up.
Yes. I would support that. I think it's pretty clear that nobody wants a bunch of garbage sitting out in the open anywhere. Period. Ever. I can't think of anyone who would be in support of that. So I think we absolutely need to either encourage TDS to try to pick those things up, or if it's necessary to amend the contract to ensure that we're watching those things, that we consider those options. We need to consider any options that help to ensure and make sure that our city remains beautiful and clean, and I don't want mattresses in front of my house, and I don't want to see them along public streets. So let's do our best as citizens on top of that and just take care of these things. Don't dump this trash where it doesn't belong. Bring it to the trash. The end.
We are going to be renegotiating our TDS contract soon, so if this is an issue that people are concerned about, I'm absolutely supportive of renegotiating that aspect. We probably also need to do a little education to let people know how to contact TDS, to let them know when they have a bulky trash pickup. We also need to reevaluate the fees that we ask for when people do bulk drop-off at our station here in Georgetown. So I think all of us would be in agreement that we want the cleanest, most pristine environment as possible. I think I have heard a couple times of rentals in particular being an issue when you have one tenant that moves out and the landlord just gets everything out of the building and just puts it on the curb. And we absolutely should do everything that we can to make sure that that doesn't continue.
We will be renegotiating the contract with TDS. It does an amazing job. They're great recyclers, but I mean, it's more complicated than just say, I don't want trash on the curb, okay? I mean, that's not a solution. The solution is this. We have a contract with TDS. The council wants to amend it, we can. But we also, code enforcement is in charge of taking care of issues where you have trash on the curb, whether it's mattresses or hazardous chemicals. Call code enforcement with an address, they'll respond. Second of all, we do have 2 times a year, we have heavy trash pickup at your residence. It's okay? And if you don't have a truck to haul the stuff to the dump, you can go on and call TDS, and they will schedule a pickup. There is a small service fee for them to come get it. But that's what we're going to be doing. Council's going to be looking at the contract, and if this is the will of the people, all of those comments are going to be considered when we're renegotiating that contract this summer.
We just need to work together to make sure that we can represent our will in this area. I can tell you that we have gone to the station numerous times ourselves and paid, I think, $40 to drop off different things. And I know that for some families that can be a lot, and especially if it's not necessarily budgeted or and that sort of thing. So I don't know if it's a combination of renegotiating the contract and then also looking at some fees for maybe particular types of items that do go to the station that maybe we don't have a flat fee. I'm not sure what that would look like, but I look forward to the opportunity to investigate that as a member of council.
I got this question, this particular question, so I think I know which constituent it is. It was given to me at a meet and greet, and so I was able to get on the phone with the city manager, and everything that our mayor has just gotten finished saying is basically what I got from city manager. So I do know that we can give our patrol people a call to get this taken care of. Unfortunately, I didn't get the gentleman's email before he left so that I could get the information back to him. One of the things was that I was getting complaints like this from people that I've been talking to, and so I do know that it's a very outstanding issue. But I did check into it, and everything the mayor said was pretty much on point. So there you go.
How would you bring new industries and manage the inevitable growth that would accompany bringing in new industries?
I think that, as far as the growth is concerned, obviously we're going to continue to grow. I absolutely support growth. I just want to make sure that we're planning appropriately for when that growth comes into this area. As far as high-tech industries, I think there are ways that we can incentivize those folks to come here and contribute to managing our growth that we have here. They provide excellent, high-paying jobs. They'll bring in great citizens into our area. And, we'll be able to continue to have a great area here in Georgetown for people to live in. With the growth in particular, we just want to make sure that, when these new employers come in, we're a high-demand area, right? We already have residents in the area that are willing to work in these places. So we want to make sure when they come in, and we're incentivizing them to come in, that we're also holding them accountable, and that we're asking them to ensure that they're contributing to our community, that they're helping to make sure that we have good schools, and that they're helping to make sure that, we have roads that are in place that can support the traffic that is here, and that they're just helping to make sure that we have a good community, and that we can continue to support and make Georgetown a great place to live.
As a county city council, how will you represent the residents of Old Town who are concerned about the notion of short-term rental units in areas zoned residential single family when you own and manage 4 apartment units on a single parcel zoned residential single family? Kind of a wordy question, but and advertised for stays as short as 2 months.
Okay. Well, it's going to be 3 years in May that I've owned it. My short-term rental. We have one individual that's been there for many, many years. But I had asked for a meeting with my representative in order to get ahead of this, because short-term rentals in Austin we've seen what has happened in Austin. So I wanted to get ahead of this, ahead of the game, so that we can have proper management of short-term rentals. So I wanted to see there is a whole litigation, a whole section with HomeAway and VRBO that they have statutes. There are other places within the United States that have the information, that have already put items in place so that we are protected as citizens, because I am also a citizen here and I have a resident here and I do not want it getting out of hand. So how I plan on doing that is I would find out what the structures and systems are, which I already know what some of them are, and try to get City Council to adopt some of those within our guidelines here within Georgetown, so that we can make sure that we are friendly neighbors to the people here in Georgetown.
This is an issue with many layers to it. Anyone that's been watching the debate over short-term rentals in Austin knows that there's many different aspects to it. You have owner-occupied rentals, people in Old Town that own garage apartments, carriage house apartments, some of which they've been renting out for years, some of which they only use for their grown children that have maybe moved back in, some of them use them as mother-in-law apartments or guest suites. We also have investors that are buying properties in Old Town and redeveloping them and using them as short-term rentals purely for profit. We also have B&Bs that have operated legally here for many years. They are held to very high standards. They pay their hotel occupancy taxes. They adhere to many safety regulations as far as access and fire safety. They have to go through the process with our fire marshal. So there's many different layers to this, so that I've spent quite some time talking to a variety of constituents that fall all along the spectrum of this issue. I myself have a carriage house apartment that we've renovated over the years. I've talked to other people. We don't rent it out, but that's something that we consider going forward. I have 4 neighbors within just a block of me that are at various parts of this process. And so my hope is to create a task force to make recommendations to council about what our options might be to address this issue. As part of the Austin regional area, this is only going to grow in terms of the demand. F1, we already see overflow into Georgetown, South by Southwest. You go on these websites, go on Airbnb, it's already happening. So I want to make sure that we regulate it in a smart way, that we are respecting the concerns of the neighbors that have lived here for generations in some cases, and don't necessarily want to see the tenor of their neighborhoods completely change. So this is not a simple issue. It's going to take all of us coming together and coming up with a menu of ideas that the council can consider and come up with some smart regulations moving forward.
If the budget demanded a cut, what areas would you cut and why? Okay, let's start with Lawrence. We're going to work across. Everybody else can be thinking.
Let me be real quick on this one. I don't know the answer. I have seen the budget, but until you actually get into the budget details, I know what the budget's, I know how it's broken up, I know how it's being used, but until we actually have the actual situation in front of us, I can't speculate as to what I would cut at this point.
That's a fair answer.
So, first of all, I'm hoping that doesn't happen, right? I do understand that we have both an enterprise and general fund, and so we have some creative ways, I think, that you would approach a situation like that. I think you would also, of course, need to, again, feel like a broken record, but depend on staff to understand, really what the needs are and what the expectations are. The process for budgeting, obviously, as you know, takes even more than a year. So I would hope that we have the foresight to be able to anticipate that and do appropriate measures in maybe small ways across, as opposed to hitting any particular area. But in a time of growth, I'm, again, hoping that we don't run into that situation.
But this is hypothetical because it would never happen with the greatest city on planet Earth. And there will be alternative solutions to that too. Because if you were doing a budget, that would assume that your revenues are shrinking. And that's not going to happen in Georgetown for at least the next 4 to 5 years. I mean, we have enough in the development pipeline, $5 billion. That's 8% growth for the next 4 to 5 years. If you look at our last sales tax report, it's 12 to 13% above last year at the same time. So growth is paying for itself. But the way you manage the budget, if you did, and I'll play along with your hypothetical, then we have capital projects that are planned out, for the next, these big projects that take a lot of bond money, what we would most likely do is just delay the implementation of some of those bond projects.
I would actually love to cut the amount that we're investing in roads, but I would only do that under circumstances in which the state and the federal government were doing their part to contribute to those sort of infrastructure projects that I think have been more and more put on the backs of municipalities, and they shouldn't be.
I don't think we can assume that we're going to always grow and always have enough money to cover the budget that we have here. I think that budgeting always has difficult decisions, and that we always have to look at the picture as it is when that problem arrives. I think that, when you look at what's going on at the national level, that the cutting that's happening there, I think at some point we're going to start to feel the implications of budget cuts that happen nationally and at the state level. Those were filtered down to here. And we're going to have to find ways to either plug those gaps or react in some other manner and find things that have to be cut. So, I think we always have to kind of look at the situation as it is at that time, and then listen to what the citizens are talking about, what are their priorities, and then decide where are the areas that we can save, and try to find those areas if we have to. If we don't, awesome, great. But it's naive to assume that that will never happen.
The current council has a policy of not allowing citizen comments on a non-agenda item unless you sign up the Wednesday before the meeting. Other cities allow citizen comments presented the night of the meeting in accordance with Texas Open Meetings Law. I'd like to start this policy in expanding the free speech of Georgetown citizens. Okay, Rachel?
Yes?
Okay.
Absolutely. I think the reason that they likely do that is so that they have enough time to prepare in advance. Why not? What are you afraid of? Yeah, hell yeah, change it.
Yeah, I think this takes a little bit more thought than just a reaction. We have history here in Georgetown. It's a law. It's a process. If you look at the purpose of the city council meeting, it's the purpose is for the city council to do the business of the people. There's an agenda that they're going to vote on things that night. When you have citizen comment, and we do have that right now, you can sign up the Wednesday before the council meeting to sign up for an item that's not posted on the agenda. So you have the right. The council's not going to vote on what you have to talk about. The purpose of the council meeting is to vote on the statutory consent items and the legislative agenda. Okay? That's the process. To have somebody come in and just speak without even signing up, you sort of need to have a little bit of order to your meetings. This is the people's business that we're doing. The people sign up for items that are not on the agenda. That's fine. They can do that. It's already in the works. You can do that as much as you want. But the deal is, with people, they can talk to their council member. If they have an issue that's not on the agenda, the process is to go to your council member first. Maybe they can get your agenda on the item, but we already have plenty of opportunity for citizens to speak at council. If you want to talk, sign up to the Wednesday before, put your item on there that's not on the agenda, then you get your 3 minutes. Or if you get Brad, come with you, you get 6 minutes.
Personal experience more on the school board side, where you do see some very lengthy meetings. I can say that I do appreciate an efficient meeting, especially considering that council members, this is not their full-time position. I agree with Dale that there is a time and a place to talk with your council member. I commit to being entirely open to doing that. But I do think that, as Dale said, on the dais, there's an efficiency that's necessary in order to operate efficiently. And having sat through 6 and 7 hour school board meetings, not in Georgetown, but in various places, Chicago Public Schools, for example, it can get exhaustive, and ultimately you don't get through your entire agenda, and I think that's a big risk as well. So thank you.
I would have to agree with Ms. Mary Ross on that, and also Valerie. I do think that we need to stay with what we have chosen as the format for the mayoral, for the city council meetings. I don't think it's that much to ask an individual to sign up on the Wednesday before. And secondly, I don't think it's too much to ask to go to your city council person and have your city council person try to discuss with them what your situation is and what it is that you're wanting to discuss, and have them be an advocate for you. So I do agree with Mayor and
What is your vision for balancing the welcoming of population growth and development while maintaining historic charm of neighborhoods and the square?
Good question. My biggest, I honestly can't answer that right now. I cannot answer it. My biggest thing is that I want to keep the charm of Georgetown. I'm not in it for, I don't want developers coming in and just tearing out 65 houses down one of the streets and putting McMansions on it. That is not something that I'm for. It's going to be something that when it's in front of me, we're going to have to look at, and it's just not something that I'm for. I'm not for hard, brand new development down in Georgetown and killing all of our old houses that we have here. I mean, that's what gives Georgetown its charm, and that's what I want to continue to perpetuate with my service to Georgetown. So that's where I stand on the question.
So I believe community starts with place, and the place for us in Georgetown really is this area where we are. I fell in love with it. About 7 years ago when we moved here, our kids go to Music on the Square, and I'm a board member of the Williamson Museum. We're down here very often, even though we live in River Ridge. And I think that it goes beyond, it starts with place, but then it becomes each one of our responsibility to really promote our culture, and a culture in respecting unique heritage, historical buildings and such. So I think each one of us, as we invite people, maybe outside of Georgetown even, but let's start with our own residents, to come down to some event that we have, and that they see us as examples of, let me pick up that piece of trash. Let me really live and breathe our Georgetown culture that is unique, guys. It is unique. I think that is something that we each do, and then as we invite one person and that person meets 5 people down in the square, and we're just an interwoven community, that is our strength. And I think that if we maintain that, we can really keep, no matter who moves in, invite someone down, have them be part of what is so special about Georgetown, and encourage others to not be all the same, but to be part of our community.
It's always always in just real constant balance. It's vibrant right now. The last 5 years, sales tax revenue from the merchants in downtown has gone up 37%. But I think what we need to continue to do is look at Roy Winters. He's a guy that comes to Georgetown periodically. And I agree with a lot of his concepts. You sort of need to, you have commercial downtown, and it phases out to the neighborhoods, because you don't want the neighborhoods to turn into businesses. That's what the downtown area, outside of the specific square, is all about, where you have citizens that live in the neighborhoods that frequent the merchants on downtown. And we have to do that, because right now, you just go from business to house. And there needs to be, as Romero says in all of his presentations, and when he comes up here, it's a phase out, so that it goes maybe from a business to condos to duplexes to houses, so that it phases out, and it's not such a stark contrast between one street and the neighborhood. Because neighborhoods, we need to treasure those. We need to protect all the historic neighborhoods. That's what makes Georgetown special, is our historic district.
So there's no denying, I think, that our downtown is the heart of Georgetown. Every real estate agent I've ever talked to says the first thing they do when they have someone that's contemplating moving to Georgetown from somewhere else is they drive them through the downtown. We did a study just at the same time that I was first coming on the council, where we had a company that went out and asked people survey questions. And of all the people that have moved to Georgetown in recent years, 70% said that the downtown played a major role in their decision to move here, even if they didn't move to Old Town. So obviously it is a treasure that we need to preserve. So there's a couple things that we need to look at. Preservation. Preserving not just the structures, but the people that have historically lived here, making sure that they do not feel like they are being pushed out of Georgetown by economic forces and development forces, making sure that our council is mindful of that and willing to sit down and listen to their concerns as we go through this period of growth. Thoughtful infill development. We do still have lots that don't have buildings on them. They're going to become more and more attractive to developers. So we're going to need to make sure that we are balanced in our approach to the type of development that goes into those spaces. And finally, we need to make investments in the infrastructure that makes downtown walkable. More and more young people are looking to live in areas where they do not have to get in their cars to go everywhere. That is one of the attractions of downtown, and we need to continue to make sure that it is walkable and safe for our pedestrians.
Well, I think pretty much everyone here has said, how amazing our downtown area is and how we want to preserve that. But I think that we also need to consider options for the outlying areas as well. Folks that are coming in, we're not going to all cram into the downtown area to enjoy what benefits we have here, right? We have Red Poppy Fest comes along and a bunch of citizens come down here, and it gets pretty busy down here. So we need to also be paying attention to the new development that goes into the areas that are around here. We need to make sure that we're bringing in mixed-use development that has, attractive shopping areas, but also wonderful living spaces, so that folks can have the option to come downtown and enjoy all the wonderful things we have down here, but also have the ability to live in their neighborhoods and shop in their neighborhoods and have, as Rachael mentions, walkable spaces and desirable spaces. Like I said earlier, I spent 15 years in Germany, and there are walking areas and walking streets and beautiful parks everywhere. And they're not just centered, in the downtown area, they're throughout the city. So I think that when we're looking at development that's coming in, we need to encourage those kinds of options, in addition to protecting and preserving what's beautiful in the downtown area.
How would the city work more aggressively with the school district to help our children get an education that will serve them in our society? David, can you start with that?
That is definitely a tough question for me. I think the first thing, we have to make sure is that our schools have an appropriate level of funding. That we're providing money to bring quality teachers in here, and that we're working to preserve and protect them to ensure that they stay and teach our students. My kids go to Tippett and Pickett, and I have to say that I have been pretty dang happy with how things go there. They're getting a quality education, they feel good, they're confident, and we're doing a big renovation project around Tippett right now. If you've driven past there, they're building all kinds of stuff there. I think the city needs to continue to obviously aggressively support schools, make sure that we're well funded, and that we have the appropriate talent here so that we can teach our kids and expect them to do well.
I think there's absolutely a more assertive role that the city can play in providing services to our young people. We currently have a youth advisory board, but I don't know what it was originally intended to be, but over the years it has become more of a mechanism by which young people organize events that they can get together and socialize. But I think we need to re-envision and recreate a youth board that has professionals in those areas of youth development to make recommendations to the council for how we can better partner to provide services to young people that help fill in the gaps that I currently see, specifically with summertime services and after-school services. Anyone that deals with young people knows that these are times that are crucial, that children have activities that they can participate in. some things. I think I had a constituent recently that came to me and said, well, what do you think about the idea of having a mobile recreation unit that goes around to certain parks throughout the city at certain times and has a truck full of sports equipment and games that the kids can come to their local park and engage in outdoor activities after school? I thought that's a fantastic idea and probably wouldn't be that expensive to get started. So I think we can use ideas like that as a starting point to better partner with the school district to help fill that gap of need that we see with our kids during these very specific times. So I hope to see something like that in the near future.
Several years ago, the school board hired Dr. Fred Brent. City council hired David Morgan. They are working together. Before those two guys were hired, everything was in silos. The school district would say, we need a school here, and it would typically be in an area that doesn't have any utilities. Then the city would have to spend a boatload of money on utilities. What we're doing now is we're doing long-term strategic planning. David Morgan is representing us. Dr. Fred Brent is representing the school district. They talk about stuff, they're planning 20 and 25 years out right now. Okay, that's never occurred until the last 2 years when these two outstanding people. Because I tell you, in my opinion, David Morgan is the best city manager in the state of Texas, and Dr. Fred Brent is the best superintendent. And they are working together. And you'll see this long-term strategic plan that they've been working on. It will make us a better city and a better school district.
I've worked with school public education for over 17 years, so I'm well aware of some of those gaps, as you mentioned, Rachel. And I also understand that education is a huge economic issue, or that it can be. So the quality of the schools is a huge reason why people might move here or choose not to. So I do think that the long-term strategic plan that is already in process and being worked on we probably, and I'm sure David and Fred are already talking about this, going and soliciting not only people within the staff and also the school district, but also other folks in the community that want to participate in that process over time, because I, for one, am a huge supporter of public education and of education in general, and I know that we will have a lot of kids that will choose to stay in this area. My oldest son, Tate, already talks about going to Southwestern, because why would he ever want to leave here, right?
I believe education is very important for our kids. I think that working together with City Council and the school board is very important. So anything that they ask for, I think that City Council will listen to them. I don't think that we will not listen to them. So we will definitely listen to them, and we will make whatever we will take into account anything they have requested, and we will move forward with them with whatever means we can to help them.
David, we already have a process for development of for recruitment of high-tech companies. Number two, retainment and growth of these companies, and three, incentives for being, quote, good neighbors. How does your solution differ from what we're doing now?
I think that if we already have a process that's in place, I'm finding it hard to find good results from that process. Personally, I've been working in the high-tech industry for 17 years in Austin. And to be honest, for a long time, I've actually been looking around here in the Georgetown area because I love this area and I want to move here. And it seems like whenever you're looking around at jobs that are available in the area, there are jobs here, of course, but finding quality, high-tech jobs that are paying well, like you would find at Dell, or like you might find, in Austin, just in general, you don't see those kinds of listings. So maybe we need to reevaluate the incentives that we're providing. I would definitely want to dig into that and look a little closer at, how can we, what are we doing that isn't bringing enough of these kinds of jobs into this area, and see if we can make modifications to try to encourage more of those types of things.
I couldn't disagree more. We're the fastest growing city in the United States of America. We've got RDC that came from California, which is a high-tech company that came. They had 50 families in California. 35 of those families picked up roots, deep roots in California, and came to Georgetown. If you've read the newspaper in the last 6 weeks, we have Hope Caterpillar coming here. Those are high-paying jobs. They may not be high-tech jobs, but we don't want all high-tech. What we have now is we have a great economic development department led by Wayne Reed and with Michaela in there. And I don't know what else you can do. We're the fastest growing city in the country. What's not working? And they're quality jobs. So I couldn't disagree more.
What steps will the candidates take to ensure that all boards and commissions reflect the demographic and geographic diversity of the community? Under the existing charter, the mayor makes the appointments. It seems like each council member should be allowed to sponsor or appoint members to the boards and commissions to assure greater diversity. What is your opinion? Lawrence?
You know, sitting on the Heart Commission, I got to listen to a discussion of not enough women were given the opportunity to be on commission and boards, which really irked me to no end. One of the things I believe is that it's a calling from within, that if you want to serve on a commission or on a committee here in Georgetown, you really want to do that from within. So you have to fill out that form and you have to make that first step. Those forms that come in, the one thing that I don't know, and I don't know that you know, and I don't know, the only person that knows is the mayor. I don't know if the ladies didn't put their name in the hat because they didn't want to. I don't know if there was not enough attrition or movement of people getting off the boards. I don't know what it was, but I was really upset and offended to feel that it was a man versus woman thing. For me, it wasn't. I just felt that the decisions were made by the mayor, and we don't know what all of the facts were. I believe that everyone should have the opportunity to do it if they are qualified. We don't know what the qualifications were for the individuals. We don't know what was done on how the people were chosen. So what I'm saying is that I believe that everybody should be allowed to put their name in the hat for it, but being able to judge somebody without having to know exactly what happened is the wrong thing to do. And it's up to us, and it has to be a yearning from inside to want to do this kind of work.
I can only speak from my own experience in applying for Commission on Aging. I chose to do that to bring diversity to that commission specifically, and I think I was only one of 2 people who were under our aging population is 60 and above. And a lot of people obviously did live in Sun City, which we appreciate their perspective because they're living in it. But for me, I have, for example, an 84-year-old grandmother who's living with my mother over in Thousand Oaks and having mobility issues and all kinds of things that I get to be involved with now. So my personal experience was that I did feel like my request was honored, and that I'm really enjoying serving on Commission on Aging because not only do I get to be inspired and have a shift in my perspective, but I hope to lend that to the other commissioners as well.
In our city charter, the mayor puts forth his nominations subject to the approval of the council. And that's the way the charter is right now. I make the appointments. I'll give you an example. We have 28 boards. The last go around, I had 50 appointments to make, and I had 160 applicants, which tells you what kind of city we have and everybody wants to help, okay? But that's one of the roles of the mayor. I don't intrude on council roles and responsibilities. They shouldn't impose on the mayor's roles and responsibility. If you want to change that, change it via the charter. I appoint people based on qualifications. I have the city secretary staff that evaluates everybody, makes suggestions, and I get to look at that. That information is available to council. If council doesn't like one of my appointments, they don't have to vote for me.
I've served under 2 mayors now. And the charter does give the mayor a lot of leeway for how they do the appointment process. Mayor Garver had a more collaborative process where council members that chose to participate all gathered together with him, and we reviewed the applications for the boards and commissions together. And we would have a very robust debate over who might be a good addition to this board or commission. What's missing from this one? Does this one need someone from Old Town that has that perspective on it? And I really enjoyed participating in that process, and I would embrace that sort of process again. As it is, 36% of our boards and commissions positions are filled by women. It is something I've noticed. I've encouraged a lot of people that I know to apply to try and help fill that gap. I think there's no lack of women that are yearning to serve in this city. So I think that there are things that we can do to be proactive to fill these spots and be mindful of the representation on these different boards and commissions.
I think clearly this question wouldn't have been asked if it wasn't a concern. I think the mayor is, well within his rights to appoint the folks that he believes at the moment. But if we're finding that only certain areas in the city are represented on these boards, or only specific people are represented on the boards, then we probably need to reevaluate how the process works so that we're bringing in more folks. I myself would encourage people to come out and look at the boards and apply. This is something that I was actually not incredibly familiar with until I started my run for city council, so it's definitely something I'm going to be looking into. If you have an interest in city politics and what's happening here, I encourage you to run. And if you're, or to apply for a board. And if you're finding that you feel you're well qualified and you're not able to get chosen, and there's folks that are consistently not being chosen, then we need to bring those concerns to city council and see if we need to consider amending the charter or making modifications so that we can support everyone's voice and not limit those things to particular people that might be preferred.
Okay, well, like I said before, I'm Romero and I'm running for District 6, and I hope that you will vote for me. I want to bring everybody together in District 6. I want to be a voice for all of District 6, not just a few. I want you to remember that I am a military veteran, 10 years. I have a degree in business administration and computer information systems. I'm a member of HARC. I have several different other things that I'm part of. You can go to the website. I have some push cards there. I will always listen to and always be sensitive to everyone that's a constituent of mine and everyone in Georgetown. I don't only want to represent District 6, I want to represent all of Georgetown. If you have any questions, there's a telephone number that you can get a hold of me of. It's on my website or on my Facebook page. And I also have a meet and greet this Sunday. And any questions you want to ask me after the forum, please feel free to. And I hope that I have gained some votes here. Thank you very much.
So I found it deeply rewarding to really contribute rather than just consume all of the city. Great amenities, it's all been fantastic. My journey moved here 7 years ago, and about 4 years ago really started to become involved in small ways at first, and then really in bigger ways. So I feel like this is a natural progression for me to serve the city and those in District 2, but as Lawrence said, the entire city. This is not a new thing to me. What makes me the right choice really is that I have a demonstrated level of experience and commitment here. This is not something that, although I do respect being charged up about national politics, that's not really the place here. This is Georgetown. We're dealing with local issues. We're taking care of our community. And although we will be impacted, all of us individually, by things going on, I, again, have served on boards, commissions. Do you have the experience and the commitment to Georgetown that's necessary to go to council and to represent District 2 and to be a part of this community? Thank you.
Some of you might be familiar with the writer Malcolm Gladwell, and he says that it takes 10 years to become an expert. So I'm over halfway there to being an expert in Georgetown. The last 6 years have been tremendously exciting for me. It's been a real growth experience. I didn't know what I didn't know about Georgetown until I got on the city council. And I've been so thankful for this opportunity to serve. There's so much that still needs to be done though. There really is. And I hope that you'll go to my website, rachaelforgeorgetown.com. You'll connect with me on Facebook, first council member to have a Facebook page, by the way. That you will talk to me afterwards. If you need to be registered to vote, I'm a deputy voter registrar. It's full service here. So, by April 6th, yes indeed. If you have any questions, I'm here. I will give you my phone number. You can give me a call and we can sit down over a cup of coffee and talk more. I have office hours at the library on a regular basis where anyone can come in and talk to me about anything. So I hope that you will entrust me with the privilege of serving for another 3 years as we continue to grow and experience change and deal with some really tough topics for our city. So thank you very much for being here tonight.
Again, my name is David Sray. Of course, I'm running in District 2. I really appreciate folks coming out here and representing for the city. You know, I readily admit that I have not been deeply involved in city politics until pretty recently. You know, I am a resident who came here. I chose to come to Georgetown because of how beautiful this city is and the amazing arts and cultural events that we have here and the growth that we have here. I moved here, I made a choice, and new residents that come here care just as much about what's going on as long-term residents. And I want to be a voice for the people that are coming into this city and want to bring in new ideas and bring in their own experience from outside the city to try to make this a better place. I really love Georgetown. My kids love it here. I want them to stay here. I want them to have good opportunities here. And I would like them to be able to afford to live here at some point as well. So, clear. Obviously, we're going to continue to grow, but we need to make sure that we're providing opportunities and we're taking care of our children. And I'm here, I'm running for city council because I want to represent you. I want to hear your interests. I want to learn and listen and do the best that I can possibly do, given my experience working in Austin, growing up overseas, being deeply involved with the Palace Theater here downtown, and caring about what happens in the city. And I want to represent you. So please feel free. I have also my push cards here. My Facebook is on there. Feel free to email me directly. Any questions you have, I'm happy to respond to those things. And I hope that you will consider voting for me on May 6th. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank Clark and Linda for hosting this wonderful event. And I want to thank y'all. Y'all are interested people. It's Friday night in Georgetown, and y'all are here wanting to know about local government. And I think that's outstanding. Thanks to when we have these kind of forums and stuff, any event, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge any elected officials. We have Councilman Steve Fountain here representing District 4. Sitting on the back row back there, there'll be Councilman Tommy Gonzalez. District 7, it's out on the east side. And then you got Councilman John Hester, who's the other part of the Sun City guys out there. Earlier I saw Councilman Ty Nicholson, but he couldn't stand all the excitement. Well, first of all, I want to thank the voters last time for electing me. I promised I would be a mayor for all of Georgetown. I think anybody that's been following me in city council agrees that that's the way I have tried to conduct myself. These are nonpartisan races, okay? And I've tried to govern as a nonpartisan. The biggest I've heard a lot of negativity here tonight, but the only concern that I have is we're going to try to drag these nasty, ugly national politics to the local dais. And I'll make this promise to you: if elected, I will do everything I can to keep national politics off our dais. We need to make it 3 years ago, when Mickey and I, she's my best friend, my partner, and
Don't make us up.
you know, we decided this would be a great way to give back to the citizens. And then this is what we talked about again. And the same things are true. How many minutes? Okay, just real quick. This is what we've done the last 3 years with the Health Council. We've got really dedicated public servants that are up there. Until you've been in that seat, you don't know what it's like. You live your life to a calendar. You sacrifice family time. You sacrifice work time. Maintain top-rated police and fire and EMS. We're the second safest city in the country, and safe Texas, okay? Have the lowest effective tax rate in Central Texas. You may have been following our green energy. For those of you that like movie stars like me, because I look good like a movie. I'm in 3 movies this summer. Inconvenient Truth with an Al Gore movie, From the Ashes, Michael Figlio movie, and then Jamie Redford's movie, Happenings. So it's all about green energy. We've cleared a path for the next 25 years to deliver to the ratepayers consistently low utility rates. The other thing, too, is we have this transportation system. This council has been very long-term strategic thinkers. We've got the Southwest Bypass. We've got 1460 from Georgetown to Round Rock. Coming soon to you, council will be making decisions on where the buses are running. So in this summer, you're going to have a bus system, and it's probably going to be August. If you would have told me 3 years ago we'd be the fastest growing city and have a bus system and a 4-star Sheraton hotel, what would you have told me? You're crazy. Early voting starts April 24th. I would appreciate your vote. And election day is May 6th. I want to thank all these people that are brave and they stood up there and answered your questions.